All right. So, Will, I'll let you go ahead and share your advice and tips, but introduce yourself and tell us your discipline as well, please.
Okay, well, first of all, everyone calls me Rocky. I'm Alex's husband, and I'm in the biology department. This is my sixth year teaching at BC, so I have been here longer than Alex. How many Mode A faculty are in here? Approximately, maybe at least like 4 or 5 in here. Okay, so I assume all the Mode A faculty here have already gone through their pre-observation meeting. Is that right? The pre-evaluation meeting? Well, I'll assume that also. So I won't talk much then about the goals and accomplishments. I think I'll talk more about the rubric, just like Angela and Jamal were mentioning. One thing I didn't think either of them mentioned was the student evaluations, that the students will grade you on, a lot of your performance as well. And that's a major part of the evaluation as well. And the committee will take that into account when they're looking over everything. And some of the criteria are the exact same things that Angela was talking about that are on the Form B rubric. So like Jamal was talking about, establishing that student rapport, that goes a long way. While the students are rating you, if I'm looking over the questions a little bit right now, and some of them are really just going to come down to your rapport with the students in terms of how they view you as an expert, how comfortable they feel in your classroom, if they feel encouraged to ask questions, and just a positive environment. So that really is the first piece, is that you're going to do in advance of the evaluations, is getting to know your students and developing that good classroom environment in advance. And then what else I want to say is that's super important is to do practice those specific lectures and or labs that you're going to be evaluated on, that you're going to be observed on. So that's some homework that you can do kind of outside of class, beyond just what you can do with the students in the classroom beforehand. You can at home just study put in the extra time studying those specific dates that you're going to be observed on. So it's really the same kind of advice that we give to our students on how to learn, is practice it over again, and until you are kind of sick of seeing it. That's what I would recommend, how comfortable you'll be with the specific lecture or lab that you're delivering. Some other things Angela was mentioning there about signposting different parts where you're at in your lecture. For example, I'm always writing this when I'm evaluating other faculty, is please let all the students know where you're at in the lecture, so they're not lost and they're not confused. Tell them, yeah, we just covered this first section here on the axial skeleton. Now we're transitioning now to the appendicular skeleton. So, and that, is making sure that you're engaging with the classroom as well. Having those activities, as Angela mentioned, those think, pair, shares, or any type of activity where you're not doing the one talking, the students are talking, having those built into the structure of the day and the lecture are really important for having the whole layout of the lecture organized in your head. And again, that practicing over and over, you would have already practiced your transitions of, once I'm done speaking about this topic, then I'm going to jump right in to this activity and involve all the students. So that's the number one thing, is to have that layout of how your day, whether it's a lecture or lab, how it's going to play out. I have like a single page for that lecture where I have it all laid out, and I'm constantly looking at that in advance of the lecture, so that by the time I'm actually in class being evaluated, with the other faculty member there observing me, I'm not having to actually refer back to my notes or my layout anymore, because I've practiced it so many times. And again, that's kind of the same advice we give to students on how to learn their content is just study the notes, do it over and over until you're sick of it, and keep checking your understanding, and check with other check with your peers as well. So just to reiterate, going back to those student evaluations, if you haven't received those questions, if you haven't seen those questions before, I'm sure you can get those from your dean. They'd be happy to share those with you. I think there's just about 20 or 21 questions that the students evaluate you on. Some of those, are going to vary depending on discipline, and how the students feel about it, the specific discipline. And some of them are just related to the syllabus, and simple things like that. But a lot of them you do have quite a bit of control over, and especially priming the students in advance for some of those questions. For example, one of them is the instructor clearly states the course expectations and student responsibilities. So it can go a long way and help to start off the class by stating those again, or just stating the days, the responsibilities for them just for that day or the last week. So when it's fresh in the students' heads, they'll be highly likely to rank you highly on some of those. One more thing was that Angela was mentioning the multimodal presentations. So that's not just on the Form B rubric, but the students are also evaluating you on that. And the students will all rate you highly on that if you've just given a lecture with a few different varieties of presentation. So it's really what's fresh in their mind for when they're ranking you on that.